That was amazing. In case you're wondering, that's Len Sislow. He spends a lot of time in that video room back there. And it's this Friday it's been a year since we had to shut down. And Friday is the anniversary of the Thought for the Day, or Don's one thought for the year. And I just want to say thanks because Doug and Len have been here every day during that year. So thank you very much. So Brenda just read 1 Corinthians 13, which you often say is one of the 3 passages in the Bible that I know. That, the 23rd Psalm, and Ecclesiastes. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy, it does not boast, and is never self-seeking. Love does not keep a record of wrongs and is never happy with evil. I've read that passage thousands of times, mostly at weddings. And for some reason, because of the journey that we've been on the last year, and because many of you have encouraged me and even pushed me to be a little bit more biblical, I ask myself, Don, you've read that passage thousands of times, but do you live it? It's one thing to read the Bible. It's one thing to claim to be a believer. But the only thing that really matters is whether or not we take the word and somehow make it come alive in the way that we live each day. So I ask myself, Don, look at your family. Look at your job like you look at your job. Look at the way you handle your mistakes. Look at the way you handle your blessings. Look at how you've conducted yourself over the past 12 months. Have you taken those words and made them come alive in the way you treat others? And that, to me, is the blueprint of religion and spirituality. Taking the word and putting it into action in the stuff that you do every day. It's no small task. Do you ever randomly bump into somebody, and maybe it's just for a few moments, and you may never see that person again, and yet that really brief encounter teaches you about life? Peggy and I went to a funeral in Sandwich, Illinois on Friday night. It's really fun being in a relationship with a minister. Friday nights, funerals and wakes and that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, Sean Frederick's mom passed away, and I was honored to go to the funeral home in Sandwich and do her service. And I went there, and I had a job, like you have a job to do. My job was to make the funeral nice. That's what I get paid to do. And you do the same thing with your job. And I'm getting ready and getting my robe on, and a young lady comes up to me and Peggy. And she's obviously has a disability, and she doesn't talk. And she just sees you, and she just gets close to you and wants to be your buddy. Kind of reaches out. And Peggy said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. You got a beautiful dress." And I said, "Well, and thank you for being so friendly." And I just looked into her eyes. And of course, right beside her is her dad, holding her hand. And I looked at the two of them together. And I thought of the lesson for today, that love is patient and love is kind. Then after the service, she's back. And the father says, "Well, my daughter wants to let you know what a beautiful service it was." And I look into her eyes, and I look into her father's eyes. And I once again think of those words today. Love is patient and love is kind. Love always protects. Love always hopes. And love always perseveres. And I saw that come alive in a dad and a daughter. The kindness and the love and the hope and the perseverance. And when I think of those two people, I'll probably never see them again. I'm sure I won't. To me, that's how God speaks to us. That's where God lives. That's where 1 Corinthians 13 makes sense. You know, this past year has been quite a journey for all of us. I know for many of you, some of you in here and out there, wherever you are, that you've gone through a lot of pain. And you have a lot of rebuilding to do when it comes to putting your life back together. And as a church, we have rebuilding to do too. And I've certainly discovered over the past year, and I should have discovered it more deeply long ago, exactly why we are here. Because there's really no sense to read the Bible, and there's no sense going to church unless reading the Bible and going to church makes a difference in how you live your life on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's why we're here, to try our best in our own humble, quiet way to make a difference in your journey. And so today I think of her father's eyes. I think of young lady's eyes. I watched the sunrise this morning, and I hear those words, love is patient and love is kind. On a lighter note, remember a few weeks ago when we had 2 feet of snow and it was 25 below chill factor? And we have this new state-of-the-art boiler system. And you came to church, and it wasn't working. And you were cold. And you had to wear your coats in the sanctuary. And after church, I called Deacon Ed O'Malley, who was in charge of our HVAC stuff. And I said, Ed, it ain't working. And Ed goes, I'll be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. So Monday morning, Ed and I meet here at the church at 7 o'clock. And he goes into that room, and he takes one of those buckets, and he sets it upside down, and that's his chair. And he sits on the bucket, and he's staring at the boiler. He's staring at it. At 9 o'clock, I go in there, and he's still sitting on the bucket. And I gave him a cup of coffee. At noon, I went back in. He's still sitting on the bucket. I said, Ed, I'll bring you lunch. He said, thank you. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He's still sitting on the bucket. I brought him a brandy on the rocks. For the first time in 8 hours, he smiled. About 5:15, he yells out, Rev, I figured it out. Get in here. And he had analyzed it and all that kind of stuff, and he showed what he said, I'm going to have the technician come in. It's going to be fixed. And at 5:45, I watched him finally, after over 10 hours, leave the parking lot. And I thought of those words, love is patient and love is kind. And now I know for sure that 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is more than a Bible verse. It's a way of life. And I don't know about you, but I got some work to do in my own life. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed.